was born in Philadelphia, and I went to high school in Philadelphia, to a Catholic high school. It was run by the Society of Jesus, otherwise known as the Jesuits. So the priests and the seminarians who were studying to be priests were our teachers at that school. And one of them was a German Jesuit who had been in Hiroshima, Japan at the time they dropped the atom bomb. He was only 8 blocks away from the bomb blast when it went off. And he and 3 other Jesuit priests were missionaries to Japan, and they were praying the rosary at 8 o'clock in the morning. And at 8:15, the atom bomb went off. And as I said, he was only 8 blocks away from ground zero when the bomb went off. And he was in our high school telling us all about his experience. So I had a chance to speak with him and hear his story about how he survived this atom bomb blast. He and the 4 priests who were in a plain house, just a wooden house, not reinforced in any way, just a common house like most Japanese lived in, the parish rectory. And the 4 priests were saying the rosary, and suddenly there's this blinding flash, and they were blinded by this light because it was an intense light, brighter than he'd ever seen before. And so they were blinded by this light. And then about 30 seconds after the flash, there was this tremendous explosion and deafening noise. And then after that, there was just silence, total darkness. Everything went black. And he had no idea what had happened. But after a few hours, it began to clear, and then they looked out to see what had happened, and where there had been a city with streets and houses, they weren't able to see except across the street because there were buildings everywhere. They looked out, and there was nothing. They could see for miles, and everything was gone. And so they couldn't imagine what happened. And when they went outside, all they could see, they were wondering, where is everybody? Where are all the people? And then they saw outlines like sugar or salt of human bodies that had been completely disintegrated in the blast. So they survived this blast, and that was the only building standing for miles, this one building where they were praying the rosary. So by praying the rosary, this father, his name was Father Herbert Schiffel, a German Jesuit, and he said that proves that the rosary is more powerful than the atom bomb, because they were praying the rosary and nobody else survived. A city of 500,000 people just disappeared. It was gone. And they were the only survivors for miles around. So just remember that the rosary is more important, more powerful than an atom bomb. So Sister Lucia, who was one of the visionaries at Fatima, in later years said that the rosary has a special efficacy now in these times. Our Lady said that the rosary will be more powerful than ever. You can get anything that you need, or anything that needs to be done can be done through the rosary, because Our Lady is giving it more and more powerful and more power in these times. So another story about atom bomb in Japan. In Nagasaki, that was the second Japanese city that was bombed, and most of that city was destroyed, but there was a priest who came there before the atom bomb, and he built a shrine there and a special building for Catholics in that city. And this priest was the one who founded the Militia Immaculata. And this priest built this building on one side of the mountain where everybody said, no, you shouldn't build over there, it's not convenient. Why are you building that building over there? Why don't you build it downtown? And he said, no, this is where I want it built. And so he built that building, and it also was the only one that survived the atom bomb. This building that was built. And so his name was Father Maximilian Kolbe. You might have heard of Father Maximilian Kolbe. He's a canonized saint now, and he built this building which survived the atom bomb. So that shows that if you are really faithful, you don't have to worry about terrible things that happen, because God will take care of you. And another story concerning the atom bombs, when my fiance, who became my wife, she went to Hiroshima with her sister, and they found so many disfigured ladies who were unable to get married because they had been disfigured by the atom bomb. They went through the blast and survived, but they were disfigured, especially their faces. So my fiance and her sister went to the White House, and at that time the former wife of the president, Franklin D. Roosevelt, he had been our president during World War II, and his wife Eleanor Roosevelt was still in the White House, and my fiance and her sister went to talk to Eleanor Roosevelt and discussed about bringing 50 of these girls to the United States for plastic surgery. And so Eleanor Roosevelt arranged that 50 of these ladies could come and receive plastic surgery. And so they came to the United States, they got plastic surgery, and when they went back to Japan, each one of them found a fiancé, and they had a mass wedding, all 50. And they had a big wedding that was widely publicized all over Japan. This great wedding that they had of 50 couples who had benefited through my wife's intervention. My wife was a very special lady. She had many talents, and I'll tell you about a few of them as we go along, but that was one of her big accomplishments even before we got married, to have these women from Japan get plastic surgery and get married. So I wanted to get married to this lady, and what happened was that in those days, every man had to be in the army or have military service. You couldn't get a job, you couldn't do anything until you completed your military service. So after I graduated from college, I was looking for a job, and they said, no, you have to have your military service completed. I got that answer everywhere I went, so I joined the Army, thinking I might as well get it over with, and then I'll be able to get married. I'll at least have some money. I'll have a salary. So that's what I did, and right after I joined the Army and completed my training, I got married, and I got sent to Korea. And in Korea, it was terrible devastation from the Korean War. Everything was destroyed. It was hard to imagine going through cities that had been bombed, or there had been tremendous fighting because the armies had gone back and forth fighting, and at least 3 times up and down, and everything got destroyed. The cathedral was in ruins, and all the glass windows were smashed, and so it's hard to imagine a city that's destroyed like that. But there were 10 million refugees that had come down and living in the capital city, and you can't imagine without any work, without any jobs, the level of poverty and all of the despair and the terrible hardships that people were going through. So I made up my mind that when I got out of the Army, I was going to go back and help to rehabilitate the people who needed help. So I came back to the United States. I got out of the Army and I joined Catholic Relief Services, and they sent me back to Korea for 6 years to help rehabilitate it. And so it was a tremendous experience to help the people to get back on their feet. And one of the people that I helped, he was a Korean soldier, and he used to come and borrow my camera all the time and take pictures, and he was a wonderful photographer, and he kept borrowing my camera. So I said, why don't you get your own camera? And he said, oh, in the Korean Army you don't get enough pay to buy a camera, so why don't you buy me a camera? And so I said, I don't know, I'll think about it. So I prayed about it, and I thought, well, okay, what kind of a camera do you want? He said, I want a German Hasselblad. Well, that was the top of the line in those days. So I went to the store, and I bought this camera and gave it to him. Oh, he was so happy. He went around, and he won a lot of contests taking pictures. Well, guess what? He became so famous that he became the personal photographer of John Paul II. Wow. And he had access to all the papal apartments, and he followed the Pope everywhere he went. And during the summer vacation at Castel Gandolfo, he was allowed to be there with the Pope and taking pictures, and he could go with him into his private rooms. So he had a whole album of wonderful photographs of the Pope, and I have them at home. It's a wonderful album. I think many of the pictures, if you saw them, you would recognize them as pictures that you'd seen of the Pope, or the Pope with Mother Teresa. And so another experience I had in Korea, a personal experience, a boy who was a very outstanding Catholic boy, and he was working for the Army Property Disposal, and his boss was cheating and selling all of this equipment on the black market, and it was millions of dollars, and he was embezzling it. So this boy was a whistleblower. You know what that is? He went and he told the authorities, reported that his boss was doing that, but the boss turned it around and blamed him. And so he was arrested and blamed for what his boss had done. and thrown into prison. And I couldn't believe it, but he got a life sentence. So I thought, oh my gosh, that's terrible. So he was begging me to help him to get out. And so I tried my best speaking to the authorities, but they wouldn't listen to me. And he said, there's only one other way to get me out, and that's to bribe the prison commander. So the prison commander wanted a lot of money, which I didn't have. So I had to decide whether I should use some of the relief money to get him out, because that money that the commander wanted would have helped a lot of people, whereas I'm just helping one man to get out. So I prayed about it, and I decided to get him out. He went ahead to be the head of the, in a few years he became the head of the Legion of Mary in Korea, and he personally took credit for bringing 2 million people into the Catholic faith. That was his report. I have his report at home where he took personal responsibility for 2 million converts to the Catholic faith. So that's why the Lord inspired me to save this man. He went on to have a wonderful family with 5 children, and none of that would have happened unless I had followed the inspiration of getting him out of prison. Well, after 6 years in Korea, I went to India, and my assignment in India was to go and help Mother Teresa. So I went to Calcutta, and that was a real shock, because even though Korea was so devastated during the war, I had never seen poverty like Calcutta. The people were living like animals. People just walking around in rags. They were born on the street, they lived on the street, they died on the street, and nobody helped them. Because of the Hindu religion, they have a caste system, and if you're born at the lowest part of the caste system, you're what you call an untouchable. And you're not allowed to ride public transportation, you're not allowed to enter a building, and so people are living at the lowest level of degradation, and they have nothing, and nobody helps them. And there's tens of thousands of these people in Calcutta, and Mother Teresa was working to help those people, so I suggested to her that we try to help them, and she said there's no way, because they can't be rehabilitated. They don't believe in themselves. They don't have enough get up and go like the Koreans did, to get up and on their own feet, because they never had anything. And so she said, we're not social workers. We just help the people and try to teach them and give them some dignity, but we don't try to be social workers. And so I had a different experience of doing simple work, until one day there was a huge influx of refugees into the Calcutta area from what was then East Pakistan. The people of East Pakistan had started a revolution. They didn't want to be part of Pakistan anymore. And so the army started to shoot people to put down the revolution, and tens of thousands of people were pouring into India. And so we had to start helping these refugees, because they were running from the army for their lives, and they had no baggage with them, because when you're running for your life, you can't bring anything with you. So there were hundreds of thousands of people that had come in, and they had to be sheltered, and they had to be fed and cared for. So Mother Teresa and myself and many volunteers and her 300 sisters, she had 300 sisters. And when we built the first camp, it was very soon filled up with 200,000 people. And so the only thing we could do was give them bread, because it was impossible to serve meals for that number of people. But the refugees kept coming and coming, and after a month we had 1 million, and then after 2 months we had 2 million, and then within a year we had 10 million refugees that we were trying to help. So we were working 18-hour days just trying to feed all these people, and Mother Teresa and her 300 sisters were working as hard as they could to help everybody. And some of the children had come unaccompanied by parents, because the families all got separated running away from the army, and the children didn't even know whether their parents had made it or not, whether their parents were living or dead. So Mother Teresa got all the unaccompanied children and put them into a special camp called Green Park. And this place she visited often. She would bring them toys, and she would have the nuns play a little foot pedal organ, and get the children all singing to cheer them up, because those children didn't know what happened to their parents. There were about 10,000 of these children in that camp, and Mother Teresa would get on swings, and she had all this equipment set up for them, and she would get on the seesaw with the children, and she would even skip rope. She knew how to do double dutch. It was so funny to see Mother Teresa skipping rope with the children, and that made them all laugh and cheer them up, and she'd have them all singing. So by the time she'd leave, all the children were smiling, and so it was a great thing to see how she loved children. And Mother Teresa had a wonderful custom of giving miraculous medals to everybody she met. So we asked how many miraculous medals she had given out in a year. So she thought about it, and she said 32,000. So you were sure any time you met Mother Teresa that you would get a miraculous medal. Or every time you saw her, she had a rosary in her hand. There was no small talk. Mother Teresa was either praying a rosary or doing some work, but no idle conversation. So I knew that she was a holy person, but I never expected that she was going to become a canonized saint. You wouldn't imagine if somebody that you knew on a personal basis was ever going to be a canonized saint. But she did get canonized, and so at least I had that experience of being with her, and she even got canonized on my birthday. I don't know how she already started. So after India, I went to Africa, and in Africa we had many experiences. I had my children with them, and we were living on the edge of a game park. So it was very interesting to see all the animals, but the line, there's no fence. The game park is a very big area. It's probably about 10 miles by 10 miles. and all the wild animals are in there, just about everything you could imagine. Giraffes and monkeys and lions and all kinds of deer. And so since my neighborhood was right on the edge of this game park, the lions would come around at night. So all of my neighbors were black, and I was asking my neighbors, aren't you afraid with these lions roaming around at night? And they said, no, we're not afraid. So I said, why not? And they said, well, these lions, they only like white meat, they don't like dark meat. So I thought, wow, I don't know if he's serious or not. But we had a lot of experiences in Africa, but while I was there, we had a tremendous famine in northern Kenya. There was a huge drought, and the tribes up in northern, they're nomadic. They don't live in houses, and they don't settle in one area. They just move along with their animals. And so when all the animals died because of the famine, these people started dying also. And so we had the Turkana and the Maasai warriors. They're warrior people. And so we had to help save them. And there were about 200,000 people that we were helping to save them from starvation. And as we were working, we started to run out of money. And so my wife, who was working side by side with me, she said, you better go and get some more money from your headquarters in New York. So I went to New York and I said, I need more money. And they said, well, we don't have it. We'll send you to our Geneva headquarters in Europe. So I went there, and they also said, I'm sorry, but we can't raise any money either. So I went back to Africa, and I told my wife, nobody could give me any money. She got mad and said, well, she said, the Japanese haven't given anything yet. I'm going to Japan. I'll get some money. So I thought, well, okay, let her go. Maybe she'll get $5,000 or $10,000. So she went there, and she managed to get on all the national TV. She got prime time on all the TV stations, the newspapers, magazines, and she wrote a book about the famine that became a bestseller in Japan. And she came back accompanied by some Buddhist monks, and they were loaded with money. And my wife brought back $5 million. $5 million. I couldn't believe it. But when she was in grammar school, she went to school with the imperial family's children. So the crown prince and the princess were her classmates. So when they had grown up, the sister of the emperor helped her to get all the publicity she needed. That's how she managed to get all that money. So it was an amazing thing that we had all that money, and we completely rehabilitated all of those tribal people that were starving. And after Africa, I went to the South Pacific, and had many experiences in the South Pacific. And then we came back to the United States, and I tried to live in Florida. But in Florida, what you do there is go fishing or go to the beach or whatnot. So I thought maybe that's what my retirement's going to be like. And I found out that that wasn't God's idea. He didn't want me, even though I went fishing for about a year, then suddenly I heard a voice saying, now you're going to be fishers of men. You're not going to be fishing anymore. So I thought, well, maybe I thought I heard that. So my wife, who was always fishing with me, I would catch all the fish and she would just get a few. From then on, every time I tried, she'd catch all the fish and I never got one. So I thought, okay, that's the Lord telling me that I have to do that. So I was told that I have to form a lot of prayer groups. So I did. I started forming many prayer groups in Florida, and after a while, I was told that I should come up to Ohio. So I came up to Ohio to do the same type of work, and it was a wonderful experience that I can go on without any financial assistance. I had experienced that in Florida when I had spent 8 years in Florida, and when I put a down payment on a house, I put $2,000 as a down payment, and then I was supposed to get a job so that I could qualify for a loan, and there was no job possibility because God kept saying, no, you're not going to work, you're going to keep doing what you're doing. And so the day came when I was supposed to do the closing, and I had no money to close on the house, and then I was going to lose my deposit of $2,000. I went to the mailbox, and there was a check for the full amount of the house, so I was able to pay it in cash. I didn't even have to take a loan or a mortgage, right? And all the time that I was doing the Lord's work, I had something called a money box. It was in a drawer above my vision. I couldn't see, but all the money that I needed, I just put my hand in there and pull out money. And so I never checked how much money was in the drawer, but I never had to worry about money because the Lord just kept putting money. It was like the story in the Bible that the prophet Elias had told the woman that her flour and oil would never go dry, never go empty. So the Lord will do that. He can multiply things. And so if you're really doing the Lord's work, He can multiply your money, He can multiply your food. And so I've had many experiences. I don't have time to tell you about all the times that He multiplied things. But I just want to tell you that right now I'm working with the Legion of Mary in St. Mary's. And I wanted to tell you that we have Our Lady appearing in Medjugorje now. She's been appearing there for 40 years. And we need to pay attention to what she's saying because the times are very serious, and her apparitions are going to end maybe in June. And she's telling us that we're going to get a warning. And the warning is going to be everybody in the whole world is going to experience where they stand with God. So everybody in the whole world will have a 15-minute experience where they'll have a personal relationship with God, a personal experience. And it doesn't matter what you're doing or where you are. You could be up in an airplane, and the airplane will just stand still in the sky. You could be driving a car, and the car will just stand still. Everything will just be frozen in time for 15 minutes. So we're going to experience that. It won't be that long. Nobody knows the exact day or hour, but that's something that you should know about. And not many people are telling you, so I'm telling you, okay? Another thing is that everybody has a guardian angel. And I find that many people don't even use their guardian angel or don't speak to them, don't have any devotion, and that's such a shame. It's a waste, because your guardian angel can help you in so many things. My guardian angel has saved me so many times. When I was in Vietnam, I have a wonderful story there, and I have wonderful stories of how the guardian angel has saved me from accidents, and when my plane was ready to crash, and he saved us, the whole plane from crashing in the South Pacific. So we really should start speaking to our guardian angels and develop a relationship with them. They'd love to have you name them and start speaking with them and asking for their help, because that's their job, and if you just ignore them, they don't have anything to do. So remember that you should make a relationship with your guardian angel. Okay, I think my time is up, so I'm going to have to end it.
If anybody has any questions, feel free to go ahead and raise your hand, and John can call in.
Yeah.
So what is one big takeaway that you would just tell all of us that you would have from just all your experiences as a whole?
Okay. I think Mother Teresa always told us to have perfect trust in God, that we should never say that we have faith if we don't have trust, because she said faith without trust is dead. And so we need to trust God no matter what, even to the point of beyond reason. She said, and also when you have an ambition, she said, reach beyond your limits. Then if you reach beyond your limits, you'll never have any limitations. She told me that she was going to have nuns all over the world. She showed me a map with pins stuck in all the countries of the world, and we're there in Calcutta, and I thought, how could she ever do that? You know, this little town of Calcutta, and she's going to have her nuns all over the world? I didn't believe her. But she said, no. She said, reach beyond your limitations and you'll have no limitations. And she did. Her nuns are in every country now. And she's got 5,000 of them all over the world now. So she had unlimited faith and unlimited trust, and she told me to have the same, unlimited faith and unlimited trust. Yeah.
Could you speak on the how you and St. Mother Teresa and everyone that worked with you were like really busy every day, but you still made time for prayer, or like a 4 hour?
Yeah, she had mass every morning, and then 2 hours of adoration. And when we had all of these camps, we had 200 refugee camps, a whole string of them all along the border with Pakistan. And so that kept us so busy, and the volunteers, we had a lot of volunteers, and they'd get out there early in the morning because they'd start at sunrise helping the refugees, and there were so many things to do, unloading all the relief supplies and thousands of other things to do. But the sisters still had their 2 hours of adoration, so the volunteers started to complain and say, how come Mother Teresa and the nuns don't come? And Mother Teresa said, no, we have to have our adoration, because you can't do this kind of work without the graces that we need. She said, you can't run on empty. She said, you can't give what you haven't got. So we have to get the strength and the energy and the inspiration from our hours of adoration, and we're not going to give it up. So that was very inspiring to me that she was insisting, and she didn't hardly get any sleep. She only slept less than 4 hours a night. So, but she was very faithful to her devotions, and all the sisters too. They had the hours of adoration. It's very important. Adoration is very important. You get many, many graces that you would never get any other way. Thanks for asking. Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, I'll let you guys go. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, yeah.
So, did you and your wife travel everywhere together and work everywhere together?
Almost, but she couldn't come to Vietnam. I was in Vietnam, and she couldn't come there because there was a war going on. And some other countries, she couldn't come to East Africa because there was no accommodations available in Ghana. And then I went to Indonesia, and they had just had a revolution, and everything was unstable, and the economy had collapsed, so there was nothing available. The stores were all closed, and so they couldn't come to Indonesia either. But she came with me to Korea, India, Africa, and the South Pacific.
Sorry, kind of to go off of that, can you talk a little bit more about Catholic Relief Services? Like, was that your full-time job? And
Yeah.
they discern?
Yeah, the Catholic Relief Services is the overseas arm of the bishops of the United States, and it only operates overseas. It's not to be confused with Catholic Charities, which is inside the United States. So Catholic Relief Service has employees that go to all the different countries where they have relief operations going on. And so I was an employee of Catholic Relief Services. So they were the one that was sending me to these countries. And they have a specific job for you to do there, or else you develop what needs to be done in addition to what they send you for. Yeah, it's a very good organization for people. It's like a Peace Corps. So if anybody is interested in overseas work like I was, then you could join Catholic Relief Services. I think they're still hiring. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very
Did you
much
get
for
another one?
yeah.
I could be wrong on this, but I heard you talk 2 years ago, and was there a story between you and St. Mother Teresa? You were somewhere, and you had to be like at another location in like a short amount of time, and you guys like prayed, and you were like transported in time, like locations?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a better story. There was a GI who was a Marine from Camp Pendleton in California, and he had a 10-day leave. So he was wondering what he would do to spend the 10 days. So he decided to go to Calcutta and help Mother Teresa. So he came to Calcutta, and he knocked on the convent door, and the nun came to the door and said, "What do you want?" And he said, "I'd like to see Mother Teresa." And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, she's in Europe. She's not here, and she won't be back for 10 days. And so this man was really disappointed. And he was wondering, now what do I do? What should I go back home? Or he was thinking, well, what will I do now? And he asked the sister, is there anything I can do? And she said, yeah, you can help us. She said, if you're a cook, you can cook for us. And that you can clean if you'd like to clean the convent. So he said, well, I can't cook, but I can help clean. So that convent is on a very dusty street, and the dust blows in. The windows are not sealed like in this country, so it's a very busy street. It's a 6-lane highway and it's not paved. So all the dust blows in on a dusty day, or during the rainy season, it's all mud. So he agreed to clean, and for 6 days he was cleaning, and then on the 7th day, he said he would like to go out and see Calcutta. So he'd like to take a day off. And so he was planning to go out, and one of the sisters came and said, "Oh, would you mind being the doorkeeper today?" And he was very disappointed, and he said, "Oh, okay, I'll do that." So instead of going out, he stayed there, and the first person to ring the doorbell, he went, and who is it but Mother Teresa? And Mother Teresa said, "Come on, we have work to do. Come on with me." And she took him out, and they went down the street about 6 blocks, and under a bridge there's this man, very sick, and he's covered with his own filth. He's full of sores, and smelling terribly because I guess he couldn't clean himself or relieve himself. And so Mother Teresa said, "Pick him up. Put him on your shoulder, we're taking him back to the convent." The man was filthy, he didn't even want to pick him up. Mother Teresa said, "Pick him up." And so he picked this old man up and put him on his shoulder. They go back to the convent, and then Mother Teresa said, "Now give him a bath." So he starts giving this man a bath and washing him, and then he thinks he sees the face of Jesus. And so he looks back to Mother Teresa and said, "Do you see what I see?" She said, "Yeah." And so when he finished bathing this man, he went out in the hallway and he sees a sister, and he says, "Where's Mother Teresa? I want to talk to her. I want to ask her about what I just saw." And the nun said, "Mother Teresa's not here. She's not back from Europe yet. She's not back." And he said, "That's impossible. I was just with her. We went and brought this man to clean." She said, "I'm sorry, she won't be back for another week from Europe." And he said, "But I just saw her." And the nun said, "Oh, that happens sometimes." So that answers your question. She does that sometimes.